All right, we're moving on. We've got myth or fact. So this is going to be a fun little segment here. I'm just going to go around myth or fact, each of you really quickly. Muscle will turn into fat if you stop working out.
No.
Myth.
I think I have to say myth now, right? Or else I'm okay. So let's dive into this. Where's the science behind
I'll give you the
Devin?
scientific breakdown, and then you guys can talk on that platform. How about that? Okay, so muscle does not turn into fat, and fat does not turn into muscle. They are two separate tissues. Muscle is made of muscle fibers and is very metabolically active. Basal metabolic rate is increased, meaning the calories that you burn while at rest, that's increased with the more muscle that you have, right? So, which means the more calories that you burn just by being you. So that's what metabolically active means. Muscle's built on muscle fibers. Fat's built on adipose tissue, which is the energy storage for our body. When we consume more calories than we need, our body has a reserve energy store as a survival mechanism for human beings to live long lives when we don't have food available to us. Okay. So muscle is much different than fat. I hope you're getting that from that little explanation. Muscle can atrophy, meaning if you don't use it, you
lose
it. All right. And fat, you can gain fat based on a calorie surplus. Okay. So how do you build muscle? First of all, muscle is built through the recruitment of muscle fiber through lifting weights. Hypertrophy specifically, that's just a fancy word for a rep range that is around 8 to 15 reps. And that's arguable. That's just a general framework. But really, it's muscle failure. Like you literally cannot pick up any more weight. You can't lift it. The muscles are fully taxed. You've recruited every muscle fiber. So you're breaking down the muscle, right? Okay, so how do you build it? Then you replenish your body. What's the number one macronutrient that we need in order to replenish our body that kickstarts protein synthesis, guys? What is it?
You just used it in the question.
Protein. You got it. All right.
I thought that was a trick question at first.
So protein synthesis is the act of muscle building, repairing the muscle using protein as the macronutrient, which is made of amino acids, essential and non-essential amino acids. And then rest and recovery, because we don't actually build muscle in the gym. We actually burn muscle in the recovery period when we're giving our body enough protein and carbohydrate and fat, and we are resting and letting our body fully recover and heal. So how do you burn fat? Okay, you need a calorie deficit, right? You need to have less energy coming into your body than is going out of your body. Increasing your heart rate, doing a lot of conditioning will really promote fat loss. And then obviously maintaining your muscle mass is the best way to burn fat because of the basal metabolic rate that I just touched on a moment ago. Okay. So let's get to the real myth part of this, and then we can have a conversation. Okay, so muscle will turn to fat if you don't work out. Okay, that's not true. Okay, muscle, if you don't work out, will atrophy, and it will only be gained through muscular protein synthesis or using your carbohydrates broken down into glycogen into your muscles as a storage for energy to build. Okay, fat, this is the really important part. Fat is broken down during the metabolic process of your body and is broken down into two things: carbon dioxide and water, CO2 and H2O. Okay, here's what you do with fat. Does anybody want to take a guess before anybody out there want to take a guess? How do you actually get rid of fat? If you don't turn it into muscle, then how do you get rid of it? Where does it go?
You put on one of those belts that shocks you and then it just melts away.
You can get those on Ainsley's late night infomercials when she's waking up at 3 a.m. trying to conquer the world.
I'll test that out too. I'll get back to you.
Any other guesses?
I think I know because I was listening to Matt talk about it.
Okay, then don't spill the beans.
Okay,
Morgan, do you have any guesses?
Well, you're not letting us guess.
Well, she knows. That's not a guess if she knows.
No.
Okay. You don't want to take a guess?
No.
Okay. Ainsley, what do you think it is?
I think you breathe it out.
You do breathe it out. So,
okay, everybody take a deep breath.
Now you're losing fat.
I need to do that meditation where you pass out because you're breathing so much. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you lose your body fat by breathing and peeing. You breathe out CO2 and you pee out H2O. And so we actually don't convert fat into muscle. We can convert fat into water or carbon dioxide. When you breathe out fat, which you're breathing out the water vapors as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's the truth behind.
But I think this is like somewhat of a trick question because first of all, there's no context, right? How long did you stop working out? And essentially, when you do stop working out and you lose muscle because you're not doing anything to build it up, then your metabolism goes down. And when your metabolism goes down and you don't counteract that with your decreased caloric intake, you are going to gain fat. So
two separate systems, but Morgan's explaining the appropriate cause and effect,
cause and effect
correlation between the two.
That is likely why it became a myth, right?
Yeah,
It's something
yeah.
because if you're looking at the end outcome, it would be something that if you were watching that happen, you would seem to think, oh, my muscle went down and my fat went up,
Yeah.
right? And so I can see how people would say, is this one process? And we're saying that's the same outcome, but one is not turning into the other.
Yep. Absolutely.
Body composition is the conversation that we want to have.
And I think we've had to have that conversation a lot, or at least I have. I'm sure Devin, you as well, as a trainer, when you're doing focus meetings and people are changing their body compensation by losing body fat, but they're gaining muscle, but then the scale is not changing, you know? So it is kind of confusing because fat weighs more than muscle. Or
muscle weighs more than fat by about 3 times roughly.
So you might step on the scale. You've been working out for 12 weeks and you step on the scale and maybe it goes up or maybe it doesn't change. And you automatically think, oh, I'm not making progress, but your body compensation is changing because of those two different systems that we talked about.
I think the best way to look at that is how do you feel? How do your clothes feel?
Yeah.
Because the number is going to lie.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to base any sort of judgments. I think it was a doctor at the Cleveland Clinic. They talk about body composition, but what we do is recompose.
Recompose?
We're recomposing the body.
That sounds like we're like decomposing.
Well, I know that's not a good thing. But no, I think one of the two things that I remember that he said was the absolute must is strength training and protein.
Yep.
And I don't know if that rings a bell for anybody here,
Yeah.
but
I
I
think-
mean, it's what we preach,
Yep.
and it's just absolutely critical to reshaping your body.
Absolutely.
Is it also true that the more you build muscle, your metabolism improves, right? So the stronger that you get and you add muscle to your body composition, I actually could crush 4 ice cream sandwiches and achieve different results, correct?
100%. Yeah, you're back to your basal metabolic rate, right? The calories that you burn at rest will increase with the increase in muscle mass. And I think Ansley brings up a great point too. This is why weight is a terrible metric for you to focus on.
Absolutely.
Weight. Because listen, like here's the honest truth. If I step on a scale and I'm worried about weight, all right, cut my right arm off at the elbow, I'll lose weight right away. I'll lose weight, but that's not a very healthy way to lose weight, right? This is more about a mass conversation and weight can actually fluctuate, by the way. Gravity is the precessor to weight. So on the equator, where the planet bulges a little bit, you actually, because you're closer to the low Earth orbit, you actually weigh less at the equator than you do sitting here right now. If you go up and you go into like low Earth orbit and you're in the space station, what do you weigh?
Nothing.
You weigh nothing, but you still have mass.
Sure.
But your weight is nothing because a weight is only a measurement of your mass against gravity.
Yeah.
So there's a conversation that I think is which has been a misnomer for so long, that losing weight is like a noble goal. I think it is by far the worst single metric that you can focus on.
Yep.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Now, if you're obviously deconditioned and super obese, weight becomes the first thing you really want to really focus on because you're in danger at that level of obesity. But generally speaking, for most people, we want to have a conversation around the muscle mass that you have,
Right.
right? And the muscle mass. So stepping on a scale isn't going to necessarily be helpful. If you're getting your strength training and your protein in, you likely will gain mass and weight over time.
Yeah.
So either of you guys in a focus meeting, have you ever said, yeah, just move to this place closer to the equator? That's never been a...
No, I have not.
Okay.
When people say hey, Devin, I want to lose weight. I say, are you willing to part with your right pinky toe?
Okay, so that's
yeah.
got
Do
it.
you
So
want
you
to
have
move to,
you
wanna
have
move to the
prescribed
equator? Well, because
That's a myth. You've never said that.
100%. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
you have?
oh,
I've never done a focus meeting.
You
with
and
you, so.
I've done thousands of them. You'd be radically surprised at some of the things I would say to get people to move to the next level. Because how much
You got to get their attention.
how much BS are a lot of us, all of us, have at one point in time.
Unfortunately what's ingrained in a lot of
Yeah.
us, especially women, who is the majority of the population that we serve, is they grew up with a mom or somebody stepping on a scale literally
Yep.
every day.
Your weight is your worth.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So we're reversing that.
We're reversing
pulling
that.
back out of
Get
that.
out of the
and
scale.
We're
Get
getting
off
into
the scale.
into the strength phase. It's about what you can gain,
mhm.
not about what you can lose. So
Yeah.
focus on that.
Yep.